Next up, we have Representative Lee with House File 3492. Once you get settled, go ahead and proceed. Oh, I will move House File 3492 before the committee with the intention of laying it over for possible inclusion in an education finance bill. And Representative Lee, now that the bill is before us, you can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Always good to be back in front of Education Finance. Thank you. And also, I wanted to thank the committee for funding last year's bill, House File 759 at $1 million over the biennium to get us to where we are today. This investment by the legislature last year allowed MDE to hire one full-time staffer dedicated to computer science, and it also created a working group that pulled together a draft state plan during the interim to give us a path towards streamlining computer science in Minnesota schools. On February 1, the working group released its draft report for public comment, as the legislature had requested, and then we are expecting them to release their final report on March 22nd in about 2 weeks. As we've already seen from the draft report, there are critical next steps that the legislature must take to ensure that our students and our state are not at a competitive disadvantage. And I believe there should be copies in your folders. If not, happy to share them. And so this is why we're here today, right? So for folks who have been following the issue, Minnesota has ranked last in the nation for access to computer science courses in high school for the last 3 years. So it's important that we continue the momentum, which we started last year, to turn back almost 20 years of no investment. This year's bill before us today is House File 3492. This will equip the department with necessary resources to execute this comprehensive plan that the working group has worked so hard on. We're also hoping that we can continue to fund the work of the working group, just understanding that there's so much more to be done. So while MDE is still finalizing their plan, we know that funding will be crucial, and I look forward to incorporating any necessary changes to accommodate specific recommendations once the final plan is published. I want to note there was an A1 amendment that was posted. We are not offering it today because there is a technical issue with the amendment that we have to work out. But thankfully, we're just laying the bill over in committee, and so we're going to have further discussions. If you've had a chance to preview the draft report, which I think one of my witnesses can speak to, the clear next step is to work on licensure for teachers who will be teaching these courses. And so happy to come back if we want to have that discussion publicly or, when we consider an omnibus. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to my witnesses, and let's go over start.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
And actually, Chair, if we could have the remote testifiers first,
Perfect.
if that is
That
okay.
makes much more sense. So we have Amina Tezek, a student on remote. Please state your name for the record, what school you go to, and proceed.
Hello. I'd like to start this off by thanking you all for providing me with this amazing opportunity to speak up for what I believe in. It means a lot to me, and it's something I've always been passionate about. My name is Amina Tezek, and I'm a student at Hopkins Virtual EDU, a public hybrid school, which, for those of you who don't know, means that some of our students attend both online and in person. The first time I encountered computer science was when I was really little. Probably about 6 or 7. My older sibling had a Scratch account, and like every younger sibling ever, I was interested in whatever my older sibling was. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I liked it, even if it was incredibly confusing at the time. Over the next few years, I sporadically used things like Khan Academy and Scratch to try and learn more about coding, because it was something that I was really interested in, even if I didn't have access to anything even remotely similar to an experienced teacher at the time. In 9th grade at my old school, I encountered a class that was supposed to be available to me the following year. They were teaching Python, and I thought that was amazing because I'd been told all my life that Scratch and Khan Academy weren't real coding, and that I never really used what I learned there. But I knew Python was some sort of real coding language, and I wanted to learn it really bad. I went to my math teacher at the time. I was taking geometry, and I was not good at geometry. I had a C+. She told me that I couldn't take the class unless I had a grade that was above a B. And because she taught the Python class too, I believed her. Later, she told me that if I aced the next midterm, then she would let me take the class. I did not ace the midterm, and I, incredibly embarrassed, did not go back to talk to her about that at all. If whether or not you were good at coding relied entirely on your grade in math, I would never be any type of coding professional. I am not particularly good at math, and I think a lot of the time people who aren't geniuses in math are discouraged from pursuing careers in science in general. If this was more mainstream, if it was a class that I had on my schedule and I wasn't barred from it, it would be easier than walking into the robotics club and realizing that I was one of the only girls there. Or telling folks I like coding and getting told that everything I've ever done is just games and garbage. Right now, I'm attending a computer science class for just about the first time in my life, and I'm having fun. My little sister got to start taking computer science in 5th grade, and she recently said that she could see herself pursuing a career in it. My older sibling, who did Scratch and Khan Academy and signed up for the robotics program I backed out of, is now intending to pursue a career in medical engineering. When you provide students with opportunities, they take them, and they make the best of them. Give our students the opportunity to pursue computer science. Support HF 3492. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And with that, we have Jennifer Wallace, an elementary teacher in Hopkins as well. Please state your name for the record and proceed. We're having a
Good
little,
morning, legislators.
thank you. I don't know if you, we're just trying to make sure your microphone's on, and it is, so we can hear you. And state your name for the record and proceed.
There we go. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House Bill 3492. My name is Jennifer Wallace, and I am a school library media specialist at Glen Lake Elementary with Hopkins Public Schools. Since 2016, I have had the opportunity to explore coding and robotics with my elementary students. Using the knowledge and information I have gained through code.org workshops and Minnesota Code Savvy teacher cohort, I began learning about computer science with my young students. At the elementary level, much of the coding we do is block-based coding, dragging blocks of code together to make a program. I have seen how engaged and excited students are to program a Sphero or Ozobot robot. Students who have struggled with traditional subjects are energized by the problem-solving challenges of their self-paced coding course. Currently, I have 2 4th grade girls leading their class in collaborating and debugging, persevering together to figure out the next coding challenge that a classmate brings to them. I am amazed by a 5th grader's creativity in designing the fire flare of a spaceship as it takes off and lands. Not only was the coding and creative animation really cool, but the proud look on this young man's face said it all, as he was able to share the product of his painstakingly detailed programming work. It is so powerful to witness students creating with their technology. So over these years, I have had parents say to me, my child is so excited about the computer programming and robotics you are doing. Where can we get a robot? Or where can my child learn more? And I know that these students who have the privilege of support at home will find the opportunity to learn more computer science. But what about all of my other students, many who do not have this additional support at home? Don't they too deserve to learn about the power of computer science? When and where will they have the opportunity to learn more computer science? Today, technology is in so many parts of our lives, and I believe Minnesota children deserve to learn how that technology works. Computer science continues to be a field dominated by white males, and by starting computer science in elementary school, it is my hope that underrepresented groups, girls, students of color, will be exposed to computer science vocabulary, activities, and mindsets, so that they will not only self-select the next available computer science course, but most importantly, they will see themselves as a prepared insider in that content. Our world needs females and students of color writing the algorithms that shape our future. These students deserve to learn, practice, and develop computer science skills in order to combine them with their passions to contribute to our world. Every Minnesota student deserves the opportunity to learn computer science. Thank you for this opportunity to share my computer science experiences in the classroom and my heart for teaching computer science to our young people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, next up, we have Tracy Carroll, high school teacher at Hopkins. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Carol Tracy, and I'm a library media specialist for Hopkins Virtual EDU, a K-12 online and blended school. I'm here to advocate for the inclusion of House Bill 3492, a vital step toward educational equity in Minnesota. Computer science is not just for people who like to code or play computer games. It's for everyone. It's key for career readiness, fostering skills like critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. Yet many students, especially in underserved areas, miss out on these opportunities, widening the equity gap. Did you know that Minnesota ranks dead last in the nation for computer science course offerings in high schools? Minnesota is far behind all other states, with a mere 21% of our high schools offering computer science courses, placing us at the bottom nationally. This is stark compared to our neighbors in Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin, who all rank well above Minnesota. In the Hopkins district, we've seen the transformative impact of computer science education. It sparks curiosity, drives innovation, and opens doors to diverse career paths, but we're constrained by resources. The $8 million proposed in this bill is not merely a funding request. It is an investment in the future of our children and our state. With these funds, we could enhance our computer science programs, increase teacher professional development, and take a step toward ensuring that all students have the chance to engage with this essential discipline from an early age. This isn't simply an educational issue. It's about economic development and diversifying the tech industry. By backing this bill, you'll help provide equal opportunities for all our students, boosting our local economy and positioning Minnesota as a competitive player globally. Thank you for considering the far-reaching benefits of this bill. I urge you to support this for the advancement of our students, our community, and the future of Minnesota.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure it's Carol Tracy, not Tracy Carroll, right? Thank you. Sorry
Correct.
about the confusion. Next up, we have Erica Allenberg, School Board Chair in Edina. Go ahead and state your name and title for the record and proceed.
I'm Erica Allenberg. Does this work? School Board Chair, Edina School Board. Thank you, Madam Chair and representatives. My name is Erica Allenberg, and I am Chair of the Edina School Board. However, I'm here representing the Minnesota School Board Association. I also represent the Minnesota School Board Association on the state's current computer science working group. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of HF 3492, which is a good and necessary step for increasing access to computer science education for all Minnesota students. I am here with a fairly simple message. First, I fully believe that all students in our state need to have access to quality computer science educational programming. As a state, we need to be preparing all students with the holistic skill set they need to be the next generation of thinkers and workers that will fuel their success and our state's success. And foundational computer science skills are critical for this. Second, in order to do this, I implore you to be realistic about the financial and operational constraints our school districts are currently under. Access to quality computer science education for all cannot be accomplished without adequate and consistent funding for all districts across the state. And please keep in mind that certain rural and suburban districts have extra challenges from an infrastructure, hardware, and staff shortage perspective. Funding for educator training, licensing, curriculum development, and other associated costs is not something districts currently have. I am not being overly dramatic in saying that the vast majority of districts in our state are suffering from budgetary shortages. The Association of Metropolitan School Districts is reporting that in the metro area, Rochester and Duluth alone, districts are facing more than $300 million in shortages for the 2024-2025 school year. Our district alone, just on Monday, cut $3 million from our budget, reducing things like nurses, media specialists, psychologists, and other critical student supports. So asking districts to prioritize computer science curriculum without funding is just not feasible. In conclusion, while I fully support this bill and genuinely appreciate the allocated funding, it is simply not enough to implement computer science education statewide. And without robust continued funding, we risk unintended consequences, like furthering the gaps that are already present in our state in computer science education across rural areas and with many different student demographics, such as girls and young women and students of color. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your service to our state.
Thank you so much, School Board Chair Allenberg. With that, I think we have one more testifier, Hannah Wiseman, from the Director of Policy from Code.org. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hannah Weissman, and good morning to everyone. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here. I am the Director of Policy at Code.org, which is a national nonprofit advocating for the expansion of K-12 computer science. And we're really lucky to work with so many great advocates here in Minnesota. And you might remember I was sitting before you all just about this time last year. And so I'm really grateful to be back and talk about some of the great progress and what we need to do to keep going forward. And so last year, you all helped pass historic legislation that Representative Lee mentioned, the first investment in over 20 years in computer science education. And in particular, the position at the Minnesota Department of Education and the working group has already made massive strides in our state. And they've worked really hard in what is less than a year to make those strides. But the work is not done yet. And as Representative Lee said, the working group is currently finalizing their recommendations. And we know that this funding legislation in front of you is going to be crucial to helping enact those recommendations. It might feel like a daunting task. I know we've said a few times that we're last in the nation, and we've been using the slogan last to first, so we've got a lot of spaces to move up. But I would love to bring the committee back actually to the 1970s to remind us that we actually have a strong computing history in this state. So many of you might remember the Oregon Trail game, and that actually came out of Minnesota. That was created by the Minnesota Education Computing Collaborative, which was created by this very body with the express purpose of bringing computers to Minnesota schools. The initial budget in 1973 was $3.6 million for 2 years to bring computers to Minnesota schools. And it was wildly successful. Within 4 years of this consortium being created, 96% of Minnesota students had access to computers. That is astounding in 1977. And we were the leader in the world. We're unfortunately no longer the leader. This consortium was no longer funded by the 1990s. And once we stopped making that sustained investment, our students fell behind. And not only did we stop making that investment, other states started really increasing their investment. And so this legislation before you focuses first and foremost on building and expanding the capacity of teachers. I'm actually a former teacher myself, and I know how important it is to invest in teachers. Our teachers want to make sure that our students are prepared for the 21st century. But to do that, we need to prepare our teachers. Many of our teachers do not have the skills and the knowledge and the background to be teaching computer science, whether it be at an elementary or high school level. And the advantage of being last is we can look at what other states have done. And so we've seen at Code.org how impactful legislation similar to this has been. In Iowa, for example, they've allocated over $3 million, and that has resulted in more than 1,000 teachers being trained through the K-12 spectrum. And they now have 84% of their high schools teaching computer science. And just a few years ago, they were under 50%. So there's been a massive difference, and a difference quite quickly to impacting those students. I would lastly like to say that in addition to my role at Code.org, I'm also a proud alumni of St. Paul Public Schools, and I was lucky enough to attend a high school where I was given access to computer science. However, it was far from ideal. It wasn't until 12th grade that I got to take a course in computer science. At that point, I'd already thought I knew what I wanted to do career-wise, and it didn't involve computer science. And I was also one of the only 2 girls in a class of over 30 students. And so while I was really grateful to get that opportunity, it was a challenging experience, and I wasn't sure that I could continue to pursue computer science. Fortunately, I did, and that's what brings me here today. And I want all Minnesota students to have not only the experience I had, but a better experience, an early exposure to computer science, a positive and affirming experience where they could believe that they could pursue this career should they choose. Just as we have with other subjects, we don't believe that all our students should become mathematicians or scientists, but we want them all to have that ability to expose themselves to that crucial knowledge. So I really appreciate you letting me testify, and I urge you to support House File 3492. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And Representative Lee, I think we glossed over it really quick in the beginning, and one of the main reasons why you're before Ed Finance is, can you explain a little bit about the grants for existing computer science programs in Section 4 and the different appropriations so that we can try to beef up computer science in our schools?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I actually think the witnesses teed it up really well. As noted, the bill is only asking for a total of $8 million, $4 million for this capacity building, like I like to say on the supply side for teachers, and then $4 million to support programs that currently exist. So just taking a step back, I think we've heard a little bit about, the need for foundational education, and I really appreciated the elementary school teacher kind of telling us like what it looks like to have elementary school kids code. The goal in Minnesota is for a K through 12 system for our kids to learn computer science, right? Because this will be as important as knowing how to do math or, knowing how to write good essays, right? So the reason why we're taking this approach is, we want to make sure that our teachers feel equipped. And, as we heard from our school board chair and all the witnesses, we need to support our teachers and equip them and pay for that. And then on the other side, right, we have to walk and chew gum and continue teaching our students this. And so the bill attempts to do that. This is based on the amount that we had asked for last year in House File 759. I anticipate that the final report that will be released March 22nd should give us some numbers from I guess not MDDE, because I do want to just clarify for the committee here. The working group will give a recommendation and will lay out a sample budget that we can consider. I've been instructed to also clarify that that may not be MDE's position and the governor's, but do want to just let members know that there will be a number that this working group has worked on during the interim to tell us like what it would cost to implement such a state plan and the incremental steps. This bill before you guys today is a total of $8 million because we're trying to scale things down, understanding also this is a policy year and typically, we're not funding, we're not doing money programs, but do appreciate the chair's indulgence and the indulgence of the members in considering, if there is a supplemental to fund this initiative and like I said, continue the momentum.
Thank you so much, Representative Lee, and I wish we could have put more money into this program last year, especially for the licensure piece and the equipment and the work that the schools can do. With that, we'll move to members' questions from the table. Representative West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a quick question about the eligible uses on line 6.9. So would the funds in this bill only be for computer science programs that target underrepresented groups, or would it be for any computer science program?
Representative Lee, was it 6.9? Representative West?
Yeah, 6.9 through 6.11. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Lee.
So I would point the member to line 6.9 with may and not shall.
Thank you, Representative Lee. Representative West, does that answer your question?
I have another. Well, yes, it does, and I'm glad to hear that. But I do have one more thing.
Go ahead, Representative West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a positive program. We need to put more money behind computer science, so I strongly support the concept. I mean, I'm a massive nerd. I built my first computer when I was 12 years old. This is what we need more of in our schools. The one thing that concerns me in this bill, which I know you're still going to work on it, which is good to hear, is 20% cap on administration fees seems a little high. With that and the 15% cap on advertising, theoretically, 65 cents on the dollar would be going to training teachers and recruiting teachers and getting this into our schools and helping our schools do it. I think it would be good to see those caps lowered a little bit. I understand most schools probably won't max out those, but if they probably won't, why would we you'd be using state dollars in that kind of inefficient manner. We don't even want to open the door to that. So I think a lower cap there could be very helpful for making this an even more successful program. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I think, so these numbers are there because there's a recognition that we're starting a larger state program. And so there are other states, I think Tennessee or Indiana, where they mandated a high school graduation requirement, and there were not enough teachers to teach computer science. And so, we want to kind of find a medium ground where we're supporting our teachers, our schools, our school districts, and also making sure that, our kids are ready for a 21st century education.
Thank you. Representative West, any further follow-up? Okay. Representative Edelson.
Thank you. I know I'm talking a lot today. I apologize. Okay, well, thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Lee. I'm very supportive of this bill. So in 2022, there were 800,000 cyber crimes that were reported. And then you look at the cost to the United States, it's upwards of $10 billion. So if we are underinvesting in even the pipeline to get kids in there, but we care about crime, like, that's a bad idea, right? We have to create, making sure that we are going to be able to fight. This is honestly, what a lot of crimes are going to look like in the future, specifically financial crimes, which will hurt our property tax base, which will hurt our state. So if we want to invest in the state of Minnesota, I think we should give you as much money as we possibly can. So thank you.
Representative Edelson, thank you. Representative Lee, any comments on that?
Say less, more money, please. I think, but seriously, I do want to just emphasize one of Rep. Edelson's points that, 20 years ago, or I don't know, maybe it's been that long. When I was in kindergarten, we used like 5-inch floppy disks, right? I'm 35 now, and everything is online. And when I want data, it's on like a Dropbox site or something. And so we really don't know what work in the future will look like. And so, yes, we want to invest in our kids now because the workforce of the future is unimaginable to us right now, actually. And so appreciate that. I hadn't even thought about what the future of crime might look like. And really, right now, we see there are hackers hacking our school districts and stealing student data. There are nefarious actors holding ransoms with multi-billion dollar corporations. And so we want to be ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lee. And when I was in high school, there wasn't an internet, so there you go. Representative Bakeberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Representative Lee, thank you for bringing this. I hate the spot where I sit, to be honest, in this committee. I feel like I'm talking to the wall. Maybe it's because I'm put in the corner or something. But anyways, so computer science, fantastic. I mean, I think we need to invest in it. And I would echo something that Representative Edelson said about doing as much as we can. We can look at what we did last session and look at what our school districts are telling us from what we did last session. We heard about Edina's cutting $3 million. Prior Lake Savage is cutting just under $5 million. New Prague schools are cutting just under $4 million. So I think instead of looking at and how we're going to spend more, and we need to invest in the READ Act, totally understand that. But what we should be doing, in my opinion, is looking back at the mistakes that we made, the things we missed, the missed opportunities, whatever you want to call it, and then reinvesting that money so that our schools are not making these cuts that they're making. So I'll leave it at that, so that we can, if we do that, then we can actually support our schools. And then in the future, we can invest in these important programs. I'd end with just caution us about adding additional things right now, not only on the department, but also on our schools. We had Superintendent Law here yesterday saying very explicitly, no more. Like, let us figure this stuff out before we add more on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Lee. I have one more person on the list. I didn't know if you wanted to respond at all.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I will too, because I think this is one of the mistakes we made last year, that we didn't put enough money into computer science. But Representative Grisha.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Lee, and to your testifiers. No opposition to the bill. The concept's right on. and keep working on that. I am curious, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to clarify a statement. You had mentioned not consistent with the governor and MDE, and I wanted to make sure I understood what your clarifying comments on that were.
Representative Lee.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So the clarifying piece was the working group that we formed last year consists of teachers, business and industry leaders, students, and a bunch of folks in the public who were tasked with, this problem by the legislature to say, hey, like, we're Minnesota, we don't want to be last anymore. Can you please put together a modernized plan for us to streamline computer science education? And so I just wanted to make it very clear that that working group is separate than MDE and any proposal that the executive branch might put forward.
Representative Krisha.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you. And I just heard a couple things, and since this is public record, you had said I was instructed to do this. I just want to make sure this is your bill, your idea, you have supporters, and I was hoping that what we weren't getting out of this or an inference was that there are some directives coming from MDE and the governor, and because I've seen that too often, and I think you have a great idea, and certainly as a legislator, we have our own ideas and powers and should carry those, so good luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, and then final comments.
Madam Chair, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we all have our own election certificates, and as a very, very good student of civics, who now sits as an elected official, I absolutely take that executive branch authority, executive branch oversight very carefully, and I know we are co-equal branches, and so I appreciate you amplifying that, and I love that we both appreciate that. For me, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't speaking for the department. I know they're here, but didn't want to bring Mr. Adosh up here to just make that clarification. And so that's why. And I just want to make sure folks know like how much we asked of the working group and like how much time and resources went into that. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Lee, did you want final comments on the bill itself?
Sure. I just want to tell folks of the committee or want to thank members for a really good, robust discussion and appreciate support from both sides of the aisle. I think, we want Minnesota students to succeed, and we also want Minnesota to succeed. Something that I left till the end was that was touched upon a little bit was this is a major workforce boon, right? We talk a lot about how, we want Minnesota businesses to grow, and, quite frankly, it is a really hard proposition, to recruit people to come and live in sub-zero temperatures. It may not be the case this year, but this is something that we constantly hear from, a lot of the companies that we have in Minnesota, which are household staples, right? And so because this is the Finance Committee, I want to make sure that members take away that, we want to be mindful of how we spend state dollars, but this is precisely why we have to invest now, because going back like we're doing now and trying to get through 20 years of no investment will cost us even more. And so appreciate your consideration of including this in a potential supplemental or omnibus.
Thank you so much, Representative Lee. With that, I'll renew the motion that House File 3492 be laid over for possible inclusion in an education finance bill.